Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Yapyak Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidyat Ravitam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Madhvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. I didn't see you come in.
Oh, really?
Well, I saw someone come in, but I didn't see who it was.
Okay.
I thought you might have been Bob, but you're not. So do you know everybody?
Yes.
All right. So do you need a copy of the text?
I can just listen.
All right. So we are in the 17th chapter, where Lord Krishna is having us look at various dimensions of our lives through the lens of the three gunas. So we looked at food, and we looked at sacrifice, and I think we looked at faith a little bit. Anyway, what verse are we on this evening?
12.
Verse 11.
Oh, sorry.
Verse 11. Will you help us out, please?
Afala kanchibhir yagyo vididrishto ya icchate yashtavyameveti manaha samadhaya sasatvikaha. That sacrifice which is offered by men without desire for fruit and as enjoined by ordinance with a firm faith that sacrifice is a duty, is sattvic or pure.
All right, so let's review. When we do yajna, sacrifice, puja, ritual, or if you're of another faith, prayer, going to mass, going to the temple, going to the anyway, wherever you go for doing your religious ritual. We looked at three levels of it. So I like to look at it this way. The lowest is a very adolescent way, where I want the gods or God to be Santa Claus and the errand boy. Give me what I want and do what I want. And as the Master Jesus says, whatsoever you ask, believing, so shall you receive. If you have firm shraddha in this, it's firm sankalpa, sometimes it works. for most of us, and then we lose faith. We don't believe in the God. I prayed so hard, I didn't get what I wanted. Because we did not pray correctly. Then the second type of prayer, when we do it as a duty, because this is what I do. It's Shivaratri, so I'm going to do this particular ritual. It's Diwali, I'm going to do this particular ritual. This is just what we do. Then the highest form, the sattvic form, is really when I do it out of my love for God. Let me see if I can draw a parallel. Have any of you read the book, The 5 Love Languages?
Yes.
Yes. So help me out and see if I can remember. It's been a long time. So there's gift giving,
Time.
quality time, acts of service, touch. What's the 5th one? Can't remember right now. But anyway, the idea is if we love someone,
Or saying nice words, I think.
Words.
yes,
Words of affirmation.
words of affirmation. These are ways in which we express our love. So for the bhakta, the one who revels in Parama Prema, the supreme love for the infinite, then yajna, sacrifice, can be a way of simply expressing love. That's the highest form. Not just that we need to do it, that it's joined as a niyatam karma, but I do it out of my love for God. Next verse.
Abhisandaya tu phalam tambharthamapi chaiva yat ijjate bharata shrestha tam yajnam vidhirajasam. The sacrifice which is offered, O best of the Bharatas, seeking fruit and for ostentation, you may know that to be a Rajasic Yajna.
Yes. So if you do it, how many of us know perhaps somebody who's a shopkeeper, who's a Hindu, and they install the Lakshmi Murti and they have a pujari come and do the puja so they can get what they want. Money. Or the astrologer says, do this mantra and then you will find a husband or have boy children or have lots of cows. This is the Rajasic form of yajna. Next one.
Next shloka.
Yeah.
Vidhihinam asrishtannam mantrahinam adakshinam shraddha virahitam yajnam tamasam parichakshate. They declare that sacrifice to be tamasic, which is contrary to the ordinances, in which no food is distributed, which is devoid of mantras and gifts, and which is devoid of faith.
Yes. So this is just going through the motions. Mother has made dinner for the family. She's exhausted. She goes over, points the thali at the murti, and goes to the table, where there's no real engagement. And then also in the tamasic yajna, people who may get involved in what I would call black magic. You're invoking dark spirits. You want to control them to do harm to people you're mad at and that sort of thing. That's tamasic. By the way, that energy always comes back to us. Any reason not to practice the dark arts? is we suffer. True story. I was talking with a person this morning, and he has lost his hair. He's had implants put in. Most of us think he looks just fine, but he's not pleased with it, so he wears a hairpiece. And he goes to dinner on Sunday nights with a bunch of friends of a partner of his. And he was going to wear the hairpiece this evening. And he said, I know someone, a particular person's going to make a catty comment. And he said, what should I do? Can I say, well, you look really fat, or make some other personal attack to get back at them? And my response to him was, no, don't do that. That's corrosive to your own soul. Well, what should I do? Well, you can tell the truth. You can say something like, that was a hurtful comment that you made. It really hurt my feelings. Doesn't mean you have to just pass it off, but to not respond to these sorts of things, of wanting to get back at people, to hurt them back if they have hurt you. That's this tamasic practice. Any thoughts on this? Next shloka.
Can I just get some water, Jim?
Please. Glasses are above the microwave.
Okay, go on. Should we wait for Divya? Deva Dvija Guru Prajna Pujanam Shauchamarjavam Brahmacharya Mahimsa cha Shariram Tapa Uchyate. Worship of the gods, the twice born, the teachers and the wise. Purity, straightforwardness, celibacy, and non-injury. These are called the austerity of the body.
Okay, so these are various austerities of the body that we do that are essentially sattvic in nature. Now we have to look at the term, did he use brahmacharya for celibacy?
Yeah.
The literal meaning of the word charity means to roam about. So a brahmachari is one who roams about in Brahman. That's the literal meaning. It has come to mean celibacy. But chastity is maybe a better definition, or prudent use of your sexual energy and all your energies. Don't squander or waste your shakti, is perhaps the best way to look at it. Our sex powers are God-given, not to be despised, not to be used lightly. It's powerful stuff. So appropriate use of your sexual powers. They are powers, is what I think is a better translation of brahmacharya. Now, if you take vows as a sannyasi, then it can mean celibacy. But that's not for everyone. Celibacy is a gift, not a discipline. And believe me, the world is filled with people to whom the gift has not been given, and who endeavor to practice it as a discipline and spend a lot of time failing at their commitment and have a mind full of guilt and shame. And that's not conducive to spiritual unfoldment. When I was working up at Grace Cathedral, this is 40 years ago, Alan Jones, who was the dean of the cathedral, had an extensive practice in spiritual direction. And he said he had monks and nuns on the one side and prostitutes on the other side. And he thought it very fascinating that the prostitutes came to him and what they wanted to talk about was God. And the monks and the nuns came to him and they wanted to talk about sex. Very paradoxical. So these are the kinds of practices of austerities, of tapas that are enjoined by the scripture that are good for developing a healthy view of life. I tend to agree with the Buddha. Take the middle path on these various things. You cannot find God by torturing the body. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
Anudvegakaram vakyam satyam priyahitam च यत् स्वाध्यायाभ्यसनं चैव वाङ्मयं तप उच्यते. Speech which causes no excitement and is truthful, pleasant and beneficial, and the practice of the study of the Vedas, these constitute the austerity of speech.
Yes. So let's look at those. Let's parse it. The first one.
Speech which causes no excitement.
Yes. Doesn't agitate yourself or other people. The next one, next idea.
Is truthful.
Yes.
Pleasant.
Yes.
And beneficial.
Yes. So there's a Buddhist paradigm for right speech, which I find very clear and very useful. Is it truthful? If I can get them all. Is it necessary? Is it kind? Is it timely? Now, most of the time, if we look at necessary or timely, keep your mouth shut. There is great benefit in our restraint of tongue, pen, and send button. Restraint of speech. Is it truthful? Is it kind? Is it timely? Is it necessary? What are the four that he said here? The first one.
Is it truthful? Is it pleasant and beneficial?
Same idea. Same idea. So this is the tapas, the austerity of right speech. Next one. Yes.
In today's world, I find that people kind of promote, especially on social media, being contrarian to elicit engagement and excitement in some ways. How do you kind of live in this world? Because I feel like, there is a almost demand for being like willfully agitating people just to kind of create engagement.
Does your job require that you agitate people?
Not right now.
Yeah. If you have a job that requires that you agitate people, I would look for different work.
Okay.
You know, you do not need to engage in that. I do not engage in arguments on social media. I know a lot of people do. They say things on social media they would never say in person to someone. I suggest that you look at right speech. Now, just because everybody does it doesn't make it useful, valid, true, and sadhana. You know, most people think revenge is a value. Nope. Most people think greed is a character asset. Is that helpful?
Yeah.
And especially people who go onto Facebook and they'll argue Vedanta with people. Be silent. Be silent. Be part of the solution in this world, not part of the problem. All right, next one.
The other ideas, or right? The rest of the ideas?
I'm lost where we are. So
Yeah.
what was the first one?
The first one was speech which causes no excitement and is truthful, pleasant, and beneficial.
We've already done that, yeah.
And the practice of the study of the Vedas.
Okay, so in Shankara's qualifications of the fit student, in the lead up to it, he says, who can argue for the scriptures and refute arguments against them. So do we do this on Facebook? No. Where you do it, it's in your own mind. Because just like you were saying, everything in the world is saying be contrary and cause argument. That creates engagement on social media. That's how all the algorithms are set for that.
Yeah.
You see. But what the scripture is saying, no, the Vedas, the scriptures, the Vedanta, invites us to live a different kind of life. Everything out there says getting the title, getting the raise, getting the corner office, and certainly getting it better and bigger than your coworkers is what's important. Yoga says, why don't you try practicing santosha, contentment? Why don't you view life from the standpoint of seva, service? Be the servant leader. So we live by ideals that are contrary to much of what our society throws at us, certainly through the media, certainly through social media.
But does that mean some jobs are just like not for Vedantics? For example, would you say a politician should never be a Vedantic?
I disagree. For example, I'm very keen on this young man, Ashwin Ramaswamy. He's running for state senate in Georgia. He's a yogi. He teaches the Bali Bihar classes at the Chinmaya Mission in Atlanta. And his ideal is we want to have an army of Krishnas going into politics. Krishna was a politician. There are politicians who have values, who may disagree, but are not disagreeable, who do not compromise their integrity. They're not thieves. They're not in a grift. Now, fortunately, we have many people in politics now who don't have those values. But absolutely, you can be in politics. We're studying two texts by Vidyaranya, 14th century saint. He was the Shankaracharya of the Sringeri Mutt. But before he took up that position, he was deeply involved in the politics of that central southern Indian kingdom. I can't remember the name of it. Those who study your Indian history may know it. But he was a minister to the king. He was deeply involved in politics. Swamiji was involved in politics. He was advisor to Indira Gandhi. What was his role? To call her to spiritual principle. Is that useful?
Yes.
All right, next idea.
These constitute the austerity of speech.
Yes. All right, next verse.
Serenity of mind, mana prasada samyatvam maunamatma vinigraham bhava samshuddhirityeta tapomana samuchyate. Serenity of mind, good-heartedness, silence, self-control, purity of nature. These together are called the mental austerity.
Yes. So first it was the austerity of speech. Now we're going to a little more subtle of our mental conditions. So again, let's parse it. So what's the first idea?
Serenity of mind.
Yes. Make peace of mind your most prized possession. Nothing, absolutely nothing in life is important enough for us to lose our serenity. And it's almost like it's a choice. Make peace of mind most prized possession. It's more important than winning. It's more important than being right. All right, Deepa, ask me what the sum of 2 plus 2 is.
What's the sum of 2 plus 2?
It is 5.
If you insist.
Does it agitate you?
It gives me a tick.
You don't have to get upset because I said something that was not right. Just see the world that way. Give others the permission to believe what they believe.
Fight for the right thing then.
Fighting for peace is like screwing for chastity. It is a contradiction in terms. We work for the right. We work for justice always. The yogi has given up fighting anyone and anything. If you watch the movie Gandhi,
Mhm.
one of the things that's just hysterically funny and very insightful is to see the way Gandhiji interacted with and treated the British. He saw them as brothers. He saw them as friends. He disagreed with them completely. But he did not take up arms against them. He didn't beat them over the head. He was not a pacifist. It was active nonviolence. There's a difference. He wasn't passive about anything. So when he called for a general strike, there's this one scene where the soldiers are talking about people in the streets are bringing them flowers. They're not screaming and yelling and throwing stones at them. But they ground the whole country to a halt. So he marches to the sea and makes salt. There was a government monopoly. He did not resist being arrested. And look back to the civil rights movement in this country. Dr. Martin Luther King, John Lewis, rest his soul. It is possible to get into good trouble, as John Lewis used to say. Is that helpful?
Yes.
But if we get angry, we get agitated, and we become a violent person, then we're contributing to the problem. Contributing to the problem. Now, in today's political environment, the idea of active nonviolence doesn't carry the sway it did in the 60s. It was a big deal in the 60s. And look what it accomplished, the entire civil rights movement. All right, next idea.
Good-heartedness.
Yes. So endeavoring to see everybody with an understanding of the human condition. There are no evil people. There are no evil people. People will do evil things. But why do we do it? If you understand your own heart, when I have done mean-spirited, violent things, it's because I've been hurt or frightened. My suspicion is you are no different. Anybody do evil things because they just like torturing puppies? Once you understand your own capacity, then you know why people do evil things. It's coming from their own brokenness. That doesn't mean we condone it. Doesn't mean we don't work to stop it. But we don't see people as other. They're the other side. They're evil. They're bad. Our job is to defeat them because they're not human. They're scum. That never works. Next idea.
Silence.
Yes. Maunam. The word muni, which means a sage, comes from the same root as Mauna. A muni is someone with a quiet mind. So it is of value to practice the fast of silence. You can take one day a week, maybe on your day off, and for the morning, no talking. I don't know, did you go on our retreat? What was it, 3-4 years ago?
Yeah.
And if I remember, we had a practice of no talking until lunchtime.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you find that there's all these conversations that go on in our heads that too frequently come out of our mouths, which just mean nothing. You find it a useless waste of speech. You can do more subtle practices of Mauna. One of my favorites, go for a week and don't give anyone your opinion who doesn't ask for it. It's the most humiliating experience you can imagine because nobody's really interested in my opinion. Very few. Another subtle form. Respond when someone asks you a question, but try to refrain from engaging, just to fill silence. Learn to be comfortable with silence. Next idea.
Self-control.
Yes. And here we mean being able to have dominion over the indulgent part of the mind. I call it our inner 2-year-old. How old's your child now?
14 months.
And I forget it.
Arthur.
Yes. Has he learned the word no yet?
Yes.
But you know what it's like at that age. I don't want to eat my broccoli.
Mhm.
I want ice cream. You know that mind state?
Mhm.
It's in all of us. It's in all of us. And we have to learn to not be tyrannized by it. We have to learn that just because I have an impulse doesn't mean I have to act on it. Learn self-control. Now, those of you who are in the business world, you have probably found there's a great premium on workers who have no drama, as opposed to the ones who, oh, you got a crisis going on. Am I making sense?
Mhm.
So again, we learn to have some self-control, some impulse control. Just because I have a feeling doesn't mean I have to act on it. Earlier on, this was called attaining to yoga arudha, mounting the steed of the mind. Next idea.
Purity of nature.
Yes. So understanding it's not so much about being a goody-goody as opposed to being a rascal. When we say where's pure water, it means we've removed everything that is not water. So a pure mind has fewer thoughts, less noisy thoughts. There's more space. There's more quietude. There's a famous saying of the Master Jesus. So among Judaism at that time, and among certain Orthodox sects of it today, there was a lot of stress put on the purity of various kosher dietary laws. You had to have separate dishes, and if they were mixed up inadvertently, you had to either throw them away or you did a blessings. There's just all sorts of stuff. Couldn't eat certain foods, of course. And Jesus's response was, a person is defiled not so much by what they put into their mouth as by what comes out of it. So when it comes to purity, those of us from some Hindu homes may ascribe to various purity rituals. It's not so much here in the States, but certainly back in India. These can be important, they can be of value, but if you observe these rituals, then turn around and scream and yell at your spouse, or are mean and abusive to your children, or are a crook at work, that's not practicing purity. Any thoughts on this? Next idea.
These together are called the mental austerity.
Yes. All right, next verse.
Shraddhaya paraya taptam tapastat trividam nare afala kankshibir yuktai satvikam parichakshate. This threefold austerity, practiced by steadfast men with the utmost faith, desiring no fruit, they call sattvic.
Yes. So these various practices here. So it was of speech, of mind. What was the first one?
So there's mental
Of,
austerity.
And before that was the
Austerity of
speech.
speech.
And before that was
Uh,
yajna
austerity of the body.
of the body. So the body, the speech, and the mind. So this sum together is sattvic tapas. All right, going on.
Satkaramana pujartham tapodambhena chaiva yat kriyate tadiham proktam rajasam chalamadhruvam. The austerity which is practiced with the object of gaining good reception, honor, and worship, and with hypocrisy, is here said to be rajasic, unstable, and transitory.
Yes. So do I want to get the acclaim of other people? Do I want honor? Do I want people to know that I'm a spiritual practitioner? I mean, something as simple. Are you taking a yoga class so you can be buffed and sexually attractive on Tinder? Or are you taking the yoga class because you want to strengthen your body and make it fit for spiritual practice? Same asanas, very different intention. So when I want to get stuff from the austerities, those are rajasic. So let's see if he breaks them down. Going on.
मूढग्राहेणात्मनो यत्पीडया क्रियते तप पर परस्योत्सादनार्थं वा तत्तामसुद samudavritam. That austerity which is practiced with self-torture out of some foolish notion for the purpose of destroying another is declared to be tamasic.
Yes. So this is interesting. I was listening to someone share, actually, it was last night, and they were talking about how they went through a period of life where, in order to deal with their mind states, they would cut themselves. Have any of you known anybody? It's usually very young teenagers or preteens that do it. Have any of you known anybody who's done that?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. That's tamasic austerity. There it is. There it is. And of course, included in that is doing some sort of a practice, creating some sankalpa to hurt or harm another person. Black magic. Any other thing we do to torture the body. People who are engaged in things like bulimia or anorexia, they torture their body with some notion of control or a dysphoric idea of beauty. That's torturing. Can anybody think of some other examples? Next one.
दातव्यमिति यद्दानं दीयते नुपकारिणे देशे काले च पात्रे च तद्दानं सात्विकं स्मृतम्. That gift which is given, knowing it to be a duty, in a fit time and place, to a worthy person, from whom we expect nothing in return, is held to be sattvic.
Yes. So, dana, gift giving. I'm going to give you a secret. Those people who practice this sattvic form of giving, they do it genuinely. The fear of financial insecurity will leave you. It really will. Because money is an energy and it needs to flow. So the person who gives gifts to appropriate people, most importantly, you can do it out of gratitude, but with no thought of getting something back. I can't tell you how many people I would see thinking they could buy Swamiji's attention by big gifts to the Chinmaya mission. Did nothing. He'd take the money. But he treated them just the same as he would treat anybody else. So we give into life out of a sense of generosity. And again, another thing the Master Jesus said, it is more blessed to give than to receive. Many of us, perhaps when we're young, have a poverty consciousness. We're worried about money all the time. We tend to be extra frugal or hoarded, or sometimes we binge spend because we're just so tired of being poor. But it's on our minds all the time. But if we reach a stage of life where there's enough money coming in, and we start to practice generosity, we begin to find there's a great joy in being able to give appropriately. Who's had that experience? It's a good one. It's a good one. All right, let's see what if we have Rajasic and Tamasic in it.
Yat yattu pratyupakaratham फलमुद्दिश्य वा पुनः दीयते च परिक्लिष्टं तद्दानं राजसंस्मृतम्. And that gift which is given with a view to receiving in return, or looking for fruit again, or reluctantly, is held to be rajasic.
Yes. So if I give to the temple because I want the pujari to do a particular puja, to bless so-and-so or to get such and such, that's not a real gift. That's transactional, to use the language of today. Or, I confess, I'm a subscriber at the San Francisco Symphony. So when I went down there and I get the Senior Saver series, and I gave the symphony a substantial donation. Wasn't really a donation. I was very clear. It was a bribe. I wanted good seats. And, Mr. Gilman, that's so very generous. Yeah, we'll get you good seats. But that's not Donham, from my standpoint. That was a bribe. But it worked, That's Rajasic. That's Rajasic. Now, at another time, I may make a truly charitable donation to the symphony because they're an appropriate organization. They deserve to be supported. Rajasic, yeah, but I want to make sure my name's at the back of the program under donors. See, I want transaction form. So to give under those conditions is Rajasic. Any thoughts on this? Next one.
Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out what meter this is. Adeshakale yaddana mapatrebhyasya diyate asatkritamadvakyatam tattamasa mudahritam. Om tatsaditi nirdesho brahmana smiri brahmanastri vidhi smrita.
Did you skip the Tamasic one?
There's two together.
Acha.
Brahmanastena vedascha yagyascha vihita pura. The gift that is given at a wrong place and time to unworthy persons without respect or with insult is declared to be tamasic.
So this is to give begrudgingly, with resentment. To unworthy people. There's all sorts of questions. Should I give money to someone who's homeless, even though I know they're going to buy drugs with it? It's a good question. a more fruitful donation would maybe be to buy them food, give them food. I've seen homeless people dump the food. They don't want the money. Other times, we have to make those decisions for ourselves. But here the scripture is saying to give money to causes that are not worthy is not fruitful. That's it. Okay.
So the second verse was Om Tat Sat. This has been declared to be the triple designation of Brahman. By that were created formally the Brahmanas, Vedas, and Yajnas.
Okay, so here we have this kind of, what do we say? How can I say it? It's like the Hindu version of Amen. Frequently we say it at the end of a class or reciting a mantra or something like that. So this triple designation. How do you translate it literally? Om, sound syllable for the truth. Then Tat, that, Sat, truth or existence. That's the truth. Pretty much literally. So let's see how Krishna parses it. Next one.
Tasmado mityudahitya yajnana tapakriya pravartante vidhanukta satatam brahmavadinam. Therefore, with the utterance of Om, are begun the acts of sacrifice, gifts, and austerity, as enjoined in the scriptures, always by the students of Brahman.
So we begin every spiritual practice with the chanting of Om. And the best exegesis I have found of its meaning comes from Mandukya Upanishad. Om, the word, is all this. That which is beyond all this is also Om. Saguna Brahman, Nirguna Brahman. Om is divided into Chatushpada, 4 quarters. A, U, Ma, and silence. A stands for the waking state world, the Vishwa. U stands for the dream world or the subtle world of thoughts and feelings. Ma stands for the deep sleep state, the unmanifest. Silence, 4th quarter, the Turiya, is the consciousness in which the 3 states rise and fall. You want to remember the deeper meaning of Om when we chant. Next.
Taditya nabi samdhaya phalam yajya tapakriya dana kriyascha vividha kriyante moksha kankshibhi. Uttering Tat without aiming at the fruits are the acts of sacrifice and austerity and the various acts of gift performed by the seekers of liberation.
So Tat means that, literally. Here he means basically the phenomenal world. I would have said that which is beyond it. But that's okay. This is good. All the sacrifices, all the things that are enjoined by the scriptures, which has as their goal first artha, wealth of this world, and then moksha. Next one.
Sadbhave sadhubhave cha sadityeta sadityetat prayujyate prashaste karmani tatha sachabda partha yujyate. The word sat is used in the sense of reality and goodness. And also, O Partha, the word sat is used in the sense of an auspicious act.
So sat means existence or truth. Here again, these are more of enjoining practices. So an auspicious act, that which is truthful. It's pretty self-explanatory what he's saying. Going on.
Yagye tapasi dane cha sthiti saditi chochate karma chaiva tadarthiyam sadityeva sadityevaabhididhiyate. Steadfastness in sacrifice, austerity and gift is also called sat, and also action in connection with these for the sake of the Supreme is called sat.
Yes, so he's redefining it with these various meanings, these actions, these sacrifices, etc. This is, we say satyam is straightforwardness, it's truthfulness, it's integrity. But sat actually means existence, something that is. Here he's kind of bringing it down. It's a little more accessible. All right, next one.
Ashraddhaya hritam dattam tapastaptam kritam cha yat asadityuchyate partha na cha tat pretya cha no iha. Whatever is sacrificed, given or performed, and whatever austerity is practiced without faith, it is called asat, O Partha. It is not for here or hereafter or after death.
So again, the intention of our ritual actions, our deeds, our tapas is incredibly important. If you're going through a mantra, or if you happen to be a priest and you're getting paid to do a particular puja and you're looking at your watch, I want to get over as fast as possible. That's not efficacious. That's not efficacious. One of the things that Swami Tejomayananda has done, which is fabulous, when he was head of the mission, he trained pujaris. Young men who wanted to do this as a vocation, and to hear them do puja with intention and understanding the Sanskrit they were chanting was incredible. It brought so much more power into the rituals. Yet I've heard stories, if we, those of us who went to the Krishna Das concert, you went tonight. Remember when he was talking about the priest who would steal the money? Yes. That makes me so sad.
Mm.
With no intention. So that's a spiritual ripoff. Not only does it rip off the people who have hired the priest, because that's the structure of the culture, but it's corrosive to the priest's spiritual unfoldment. It's the most destructive part. Okay, one more, and then we'll quit.
I think we've just finished the chapter.
Oh, we did?
Yeah.
All right.
Om Tat Saditi Srimad Bhagwad Gita Supanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjun Samvade Shraddha Traya Vibhag Yogo Nama Saptadashodhyayah. Thus, in the Upanishads of the glorious Bhagwad Gita, in the science of the eternal, in the scripture of yoga, in the dialogue between Sri Krishna and Arjuna, the 17th discourse ends entitled The Threefold Faith. Om, Om, Om.
So to summarize it, in every dimension of our life, it can be approached from a sattvic viewpoint, or a jasic viewpoint, or a tamasic viewpoint. In an earlier chapter, Krishna has said, be you ever beyond the gunas. Watch the play of the qualities of the mind. And then he says, and ever remain in the sattvic state. Wait a minute, you just told me to be beyond the gunas, now you want to be in one of the gunas? It looks like a contradiction in terms. From the standpoint of Vyavahara, the personal transactions in this world, you will be happier if you cultivate a sattvic life. Various ways this chapter is put out. You will be less happy if you're motivated by greed, ambition. You will be miserable if you're motivated by revenge, redress, etc. So if you want to cultivate a happy life in this world, cultivate a sattvic mind. But understand the self is beyond the gunas. Because at times your mind will be thick and crummy. You will have a reaction. Stay in the position of Sakshibha, the attitude of the witness. Be beyond. All right. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamedavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om.